Hey friends, it's Alex and welcome to my April wrap-up and May TBR. But we'll start with the April wrap-up. I read 7 books in April. So first of all, at the start of April it was Kate from Reading Through Infinity. It was her Easter readathon, Easter weekend readathon, spring readathon. And for that I read 3 books. So first of all I read The Deep Sea Duke by Lauren James. I really enjoyed this book. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's kind of, I think it's aimed at a younger audience, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But it did obviously end up reading just a little bit young for me, which is not the book's fault at all. But I did really enjoy it. It was really fun. They're really quick to get through, these books. They're published by Barrington Stoke, which is a dyslexia friendly publisher. So they tend to have really big font and they're really short stories and they're just really fun, especially this series by Lauren James. It's just really fun. I always enjoy reading it. It's very kind of a bit out there. There's some very interesting characters, like one of the main characters is a mountain. And I just love it. I think it's so creative and unique and interesting and I just have such a good time reading it. And I gave this one 4 stars. Did I already say that? I can't remember, but I think I gave it 4 stars. The second book I read for the Easter readathon was Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. I honestly thought I had already read this book. I thought that for a while. I've read all of Alice Oseman's other books. This was the only one I had left to read and I really enjoyed it as well. This is a novella following Nick and Charlie, and Charlie is the brother of one of the main characters from one of her full-length novels. And Nick and Charlie are also the main characters of the Heartstopper comics, which I love, and so just getting to see them in more stories just because they're the cutest couple ever. I really enjoyed this so much. They made some annoying decisions and like there was a bit of a lack of communication, which isn't always my favourite thing in books. It kind of frustrates me, but this was just super cute and I love Alice Oseman's books and love her writing. She also illustrates these herself and her illustrations are really nice. I really like her illustrations. And I also gave this one 4 stars. The third book I read for that readathon kind of merges with the next few books I read in the month, so I'll kind of group them together. And that is the Ember Quartet, is that what it's called? I don't remember. So Beth and I buddy read An Ember in the Ashes as one of our reads for the Easter readathon, so we read this one over 4 days. And then throughout the rest of the month we carried on with the rest of the series, A Torch Against the Night, A Reaper at the Gates and A Sky Beyond the Storm. I'm going to talk about these together because I feel like I'll just end up saying the same thing for each book because I don't want to spoil. But I really enjoyed this whole series. I gave it all 4 stars. It just didn't quite hit the 5-star feels for me, but I really loved them. It's a very high 4 stars. I definitely recommend them. I'm so glad that we read them as well. I've not been explaining what these books are about, have I? The Deep Sea Duke is about an android called Hugo and his friends going to a planet and trying to help with a kind of overpopulation problem that they have, and it's just really fun. Nick and Charlie is about Nick and Charlie and their relationship and it kind of going through a rough patch when Nick is leaving for uni. So the Ember Quartet follows Leia, Elias and Helen, and then there's a few other characters, but those are like the 3 main characters. And I believe it's inspired by Romans, I think. And there was so much more to it than I was expecting, like some of the magical elements I just wasn't expecting. I think I was kind of expecting it to be one of those fantasy series that is just set in a fantasy world but there's not actually any magic. I think that's more what I was expecting, and so the magic elements really took me by surprise, but in a really good way, because they were really good and I really enjoyed them. I also personally, I don't know how other people who've read it feel, but I personally feel like it's quite a good kind of bridging point between YA fantasy and adult fantasy, because it's not too hard to read, it's quite easy to read, but then it was also a lot darker than a lot of the YA fantasies I read, so I think it could be quite a good point for bridging that gap if you're wanting to get into adult fantasy but you read mostly YA fantasy. Maybe try the Ember Quartet. And then the last book I read in April I have been kind of listening to on audiobook and reading just on and off throughout the whole month, and that was Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I gave this one 4 stars as well. This was a rather interesting reading experience for me because Cassandra Clare has been my absolute favourite author for a very long time now, and I think this has been coming on a while, but I've just been like refusing to acknowledge it. But when I read this book I finally just acknowledged it, that I think I'm slightly growing out of her books. I was really struggling to get into this one and read it, and it was taking me ages, and so then I switched to the audiobook and I was able to get back into it a lot more. So I think it might be just that I'm not liking Cassie's writing style as much, because I still really enjoyed the story and I was really into it and really attached to all the characters when I started listening to the audiobook. But this is the sequel to Chain of Gold, which is the sequel series to the Infernal Devices, which is the prequel series to the Mortal Instruments. So there's not really a lot I can say about this without spoiling like 20 other books. But they follow shadow hunters who fight demons, and the shadow hunters are descended from angels, and it's just a good time and I really enjoy them. I also love the things, because some characters are like immortal and then there are things that are passed down from family member to family member, parent to child, whatever. So I like seeing those, like Cortana is in this book, and then also in the Dark Artificers, and obviously Magnus is in this book, and I just love Magnus and every appearance he makes. So that was good, but yeah, it kind of sucks a bit that I think I'm growing out of her books. I think I will forever read her books and forever enjoy them, but they're no longer like absolute top favourites of all time anymore, which is sad. So that's what I read in April, and now I will move on to my May TBR. So I don't normally set TBRs because I don't tend to stick to them. I tend to just read anything but what's on my TBR, but I have some books this month that I'm definitely reading because they're buddy reads. So I thought I may as well share them with you. And then I also have another book that I would like to read, and then I'll show you what I'm currently reading, because obviously I'm going to read that. So my current read is Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I was sent this one by the publisher, so thank you very much to Tor and to The Right Reads, because I'm on their blog tour. I'm on their blog tour for this book, which is why I was sent the copy. So this one comes out in May, comes out on the 27th of May. I'm not very far through at all. I don't think the blog tour is until May, but I just wanted to get a head start on it and actually make sure I'd read it. I've been wanting to read one of Adrian Tchaikovsky's books for a while, because I think he's quite a big name in adult sci-fi, and I've been wanting to branch out more into adult sci-fi. So I'm very glad to be reading this one. Like I say, I'm not very far through. I am enjoying it so far, but we'll see how it goes, because I've got a long way to go and a lot could happen in that time. But this is about a race of aliens called architects who like destroy planets, but like not just completely destroy them, they like reshape them. I think that's in focus. They reshape them like this on the cover, but I think they only do it to inhabited planets or something like that. And so they did that to Earth. Earth was destroyed. Humanity kind of scattered and then these architects like kept hunting them down and going after them, and so it's like this whole war between humanity and architects. Humanity discovered a weapon that helped them win the war, and then I think this book is set several years after the war has ended. From what it says on the back, the architects are back and it's all about to kick off again, I think. So I will be reading this one, definitely, because I've already started it. Next up I have a book that I just kind of like to read. It's another sci-fi, and it's The Quiet at the End of the World by Lauren James. I really love Lauren James, if you can't tell from the fact that I read one in April and now I want to read one in May. This was also one of the books that I think Beth picked it for me. I'm doing this challenge this year where I'm reading 6 books that Beth picked for me and 6 books that Blue picked for me. I'll leave the video where I talk about that down below. It's on our old channel. So I'm hoping to read this one. I've done really badly so far with that challenge. We are now in May and I haven't read a single book. So I'm hoping to read this one this month and get that ticked off. As far as I can tell, this one seems to be about a global virus. So, you know, very relevant. This virus causes global infertility. It's set after this virus has kind of swept around the globe, and it follows the 2 youngest people left alive on the planet. Yep, it sounds really interesting. I've read all of Lauren James's other books and I really enjoyed them all, so I'm definitely excited to give this one a go. Now on to the buddy reads with Beth. We are planning on buddy reading the Six of Crows duology and the King of Scars duology. I don't have King of Scars yet, it should be coming in the mail. As I'm sure you're aware, the Shadow and Bone TV show has come out and I would like to watch it, but I haven't read Six of Crows or Crooked Kingdom, and I believe the TV show follows the original Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. So I would like to read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom before I watch it, and Beth would like to reread Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. So we'll be buddy reading Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which I'm very excited about. Finally get these read. I wasn't actually a huge fan of the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but I've heard that the Six of Crows duology is better. And then we also thought, why not just carry it on, even though the show isn't based on the King of Scars duology as far as I know. Why not just carry on and finish off the Grishaverse as it currently is. I don't know if there are going to be more books. So we're going to read King of Scars and Rule of Wolves after we read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I don't know if Beth has read King of Scars. I don't think she's read Rule of Wolves because it's only just come out. So yeah, we'll be buddy reading some Leigh Bardugo books. I'm interested to see what I think of them after not really enjoying the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but then really enjoying Ninth House. So I know I like some of Leigh Bardugo's books, so we'll see where these ones fall. I'm hoping to love them, and I'm also really excited to check out the show after I've read them. So that's what I read in April and what I'm reading in May. Feel free to let me know what you read in April and what you're reading in May, and we can talk about books, obviously. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!